Okay, friends, here we go. So we are in a study right now on John Mark Comer's book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And I know that a bunch of you are reading this, and I'm so grateful for that. You know, we handed out 750 copies. I had somebody tell me the other day they went to 3 bookstores around DFW and couldn't find it. So I don't know how many of us are reading it right now, but I think a bunch of us are. And I'm seeing this have a real impact on a lot of people's lives. I'm grateful for that. So let's talk about what this study looks like real quick. So preaching on it on Sunday mornings, and last Sunday, the 10th, was the first Sunday we really went after it. The third kind of went after it a little bit. And each of the next 3 weeks, we'll be talking about 3 more of the practices that he recommends in the book. Okay, so we're doing that on Sunday mornings. There's a reading companion that's at hpumc.org that our team put together that's awesome. So check that out. That's going to be helpful to you. And then twice a week, I'm going to be posting videos like this. So one video where I'm going to share some thoughts. We're going to go a little bit deeper than we did on Sunday morning. And then one video where I'm going to have a conversation with somebody about the book. And actually recorded that conversation earlier this week, so I can tell you with full conviction that it's going to be helpful to you. So I'm going to post that either tomorrow or Friday. Today's Wednesday, so I'll post either tomorrow or Friday. Okay, so let's dig in a little bit to some scripture. It's a passage that I alluded to on Sunday, but certainly didn't really go into. So I want to talk about that, and then talk a little bit more about my experience with moving too fast, and my experience with, those moments where I've slowed down, got that silence and that solitude. So let's do that. Okay, so this passage is in Mark 1, beginning in verse 35. Okay, so what's happened before this is that Jesus has had his kind of first day on the job. I alluded to this on Sunday, where he's done a ton of stuff. He's got to be exhausted at the end of that day. He's recruited people, he has preached, he's healed a bunch of people. But then in verse 35, we get the next morning. Rising very early in the morning while it was still dark. So as exhausted as he is, he still takes that time. He gets up early in the morning before the sun comes up and departed and went out into a desolate place. So he went out by himself. That solitude, that silence. And there he prayed. So again, we talked about this, how Jesus has this rhythm where he's with people and he's by himself. He's with people and he's by himself. He's in kind of the noise of the crowds and everything else, and then he's in the quiet. And he's got that rhythm. Why do I think that I don't need that rhythm myself? But let's see what happens here. And Simon, that's Peter, so Simon Peter, and those who were with him searched for him. So they went looking for Jesus. And they found him. And they said to him, "Everyone is looking for you." And why do they say everyone is looking for you? I mean, clearly it's not just like an informational thing. Like, we just want to let you know that everybody back in Capernaum is looking for you. No. There's something implied here. What's implicit? Well, what's implicit is everybody's looking for you. Like, get back in there. If your boss finally finds you after he's been looking for you for a while, and says, everybody's looking for you. The implication is like, where have you been? We need you. But this is what he says to them. Let us go on to the next towns, that I may preach there also. For that's why I came. So he says, actually, we're not going back into Capernaum. We're going to go into some other towns. That's why I came. And he went throughout all Galilee, preaching in their synagogues and casting out demons. So let's think about what happens here. So Jesus has this exhausting day. He gets up the next morning. And of course, that exhausting day comes on the heels of more time that he'd spent in solitude. With people. He gets right back out there in that quiet place. What does he pray about? What does he experience? We don't know. But what we do know is that into that quiet place comes busting Peter and the others. Essentially, if not demanding, strongly suggesting that he get back to the business at hand in Capernaum. One, how often are we trying to take this quiet? And either other people or other things, literal people or ideas in our minds or tasks that we can't get out of our mind, come busting into that space. This is hard, and we have to protect this time. So they come busting in, And what are they wanting? What are they feeling? Well, they're feeling this need to get Jesus back to a place. But what does Jesus do? Jesus recognizes that's not where I need to go. Let me ask you this. How often are you driven by other people's expectations, or pushing it even further, by other people's anxiety, rather than by your sense of purpose or your knowledge of the direction that you need to go? I mean, just think of the last 24 hours or so. Have there been times when you have felt like this is where I need to be going, spending my time, energy, money, whatever it is, but somebody else's anxiety is sucking me into a different direction? And Jesus, being the Son of God, I mean, can withstand this temptation no matter what. But I think what it is teaching us is that it is in those moments of silence and quiet that we are able to be firmly planted once again in our sense of direction and our sense of purpose and our sense of what matters and what's right. And I find for myself that when I am in that regular practice of that quiet time of prayer, that I am less driven by other people's anxiety and other people's expectations, and more driven by my sense of what is right and my kind of larger purpose. It's just another reason why this time of quiet and this time of solitude, I think, is really important. So I'd encourage you to kind of take that passage, look at it, spend some time with it, and ask, okay, how is this playing out in my life? Okay, let's talk about. I mentioned on Sunday that about a year ago, I was as close to kind of a breakdown as I think that I've ever been. Now, again, and I said this more, I think, at 11 than I did at 9, but it wasn't kind of a cliche breakdown, which is part of the reason that I missed it for a while, that this was happening. But also, it doesn't mean that I was completely falling apart. I mean, you may be at a place where you're not completely falling apart, but yet you can resonate with the way that I describe what's happening in my life. The best way to describe it is that I was becoming really hypersensitive to little things, and I was becoming numb to big things. Like, little things were bothering me. And frankly, I was kind of turning like a baby. Like little things would just got to get under my skin. And, like little offenses I turned into big things. While meanwhile, the big important things in life, like, I'm kind of numb to those things. So I actually did not want to take this time away. Again, I didn't go into all of this on Sunday. But I was planning on just taking some time off and staying at home. And then I'm driving home one day, and I'm realizing I'm definitely going to work next week. Like, I'm seeing things creep in. I'm definitely going to end up working. And I told Amy that, and then that's when Amy booked this plane ticket and booked these couple nights in a hotel for me. And I was not happy about it at first. I didn't feel like it was how we should spend our money. I felt selfish, all these things. And Amy was like, no, you need this. So I did it. There were a million reasons not to go, and I did. And I can't begin to explain to you how healing it was for me. For those of you that are Star Wars fans, there's a thing called a Bacta tank. It's what Luke Skywalker was in Empire Strikes Back. It's like you're like in this liquid surrounded by it that like heals you. I mean, it was like, the risk of sounding super cheesy. I mean, it was like I was in like a vat of ointment for those first 24 hours. It just felt good. It felt hard also. I know I said this at 11 and not at 9 o'clock, but it's like when you put ointment or lotion on your dry hands, how it burns, but that burn is how you know that it's working. It's like hydrogen peroxide. And then the next 24 hours were just super fun. I ended up on a lot of phone calls that week about COVID because it was that second week of March. But even though I worked some, because again, I just had to, I experienced a tremendous amount of healing because by and large I was by myself and I was quiet. If you were able to do that, I would strongly encourage that. Those actual couple days away. If you're not able to do that, one, ask yourself if really you are able to do that, because I think more of us are able to do that than we realize. But if you're genuinely not, I think these moments of silence throughout the day and particularly, 10 or 15 minutes at night, is something that we really need. And just as a reminder why we need this. We need this because we need more men and women and teenagers and kids walking in the way of Jesus. And if we are not taking this silence, we will end up just looking like everybody else. It's just inevitable. If we want to make a difference, we have to be willing to be different. And just deciding, I'm going to be different, I'm going to walk different than everybody else, just deciding that is important, but it's not enough. It's like deciding that you're going to be a great basketball player and then not practicing. You can decide you want to be different, walk in the way of Jesus. It's good. But then you have to actually do what Jesus did in order to be like Jesus was. You have to actually practice this time of silence and solitude and these other things that we're going to talk about also. So, all that to say, I'm excited about touching base a couple times a week, talk more about this study in this format, but I hope that you'll engage in the other ways also. And of course, most importantly, I hope that you'll read the book. And I hope this week that you'll take this practice of silence and solitude seriously. So God bless you, friends. I hope that you're doing well. And I'll see you in a couple of days, either tomorrow or the next day, with this conversation that I recorded. And then I'll see you next week as we talk more. And of course, if you're a part of Cornerstone and HPMC, then I'll see you on Sunday, either in person or virtually. God bless you, and I'll see you soon.